Okay, welcome to the Bloomfield Township Board of Trustees meeting on Monday, February the 23rd. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome everyone. We'll open it up with public comment. If you're here to comment on anything within the township or on the agenda tonight, you can step up to the podium, my right, your left, and we'll ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes. Okay, it looks like there's no public comment. We'll close public comment and consider consent agenda item 2, A, B, and C. Any motions, changes, approvals, support, suggestions?
I just want to pull out payroll and vouchers.
Payroll and vouchers, okay, Mark, we'll take out item number C, and we'll move that to item number 8A.
I will make a motion that we approve consent agenda items A and B.
Support. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you, Val. Item number 3, we'll hold a public hearing and site plan and special land use request for Ross Animal Hospital, 880 and 970 West Long Lake Road, presented by our Director of Planning and Building, Andrea Bibby. Welcome.
Hi, good evening. Thank you very much. The first item on the agenda this evening is a site plan application for a new Ross Animal Hospital proposed at 880 and 970 West Long Lake Road. Highlighted here on your screen, you can see an aerial of where this property is located. I think we're very familiar where the current animal hospital is located, north of off Long Lake, north and to the east of Telegraph Road. The property here is zoned B1, which is our local business district. Currently, you can see the existing conditions. There's 2 buildings. The building on the left was formerly occupied by Bob White Cleaners, and the current animal hospital is located on your right-hand side, highlighted towards the rear of the site. The proposal this evening is to demolish the existing buildings and then to develop a 1-story commercial building to construct a new 6,153 square foot Ross Animal Hospital facility located again as the site that I've just reviewed. The site has access via both Long Lake Road, and I also want to note that they did obtain a cross-access easement agreement to solidify the existing access drive that does come into the site on the western side of the current Bob White that provides access from the Telegraph Road corridor. So I just want to note that there is an existing access that goes between the gas station and the Bonaventure Shopping Center, which will allow access to the site as well. In terms of compliance with the provisions of our ordinance, I just want to note that both the circulation as well as the landscaping for the site was reviewed by our various consultants, noting that it does comply with the provisions of our ordinance. I do want to note that the applicant has indicated that they would like to operate within their existing building. That would remain. That was a question from one of the board members, that throughout construction and care of their current patients and clientele, if you will, that they would continue to operate until the time that they would have to demolish that building. So I just wanted to point that out. I do want to note that they did have to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Our ordinance does require that there is a 200-foot setback to adjacent residential. They did seek a variance because if they did incorporate a 200-foot setback, they would essentially have to place the building within Long Lake Road. I do want to note that it was supported, the variance, and note that it is a substantial setback that they're actually going to be increasing in their current location to the new configuration. So with that, the applicant has provided a landscape plan showing they're also showing a dumpster enclosure in the rear of the existing building, moving that away from residential as well. And they are proposing to install a 6-foot high masonry wall along their rear property line where it abuts residential. They have provided a landscape plan that does satisfy the requirements within our zoning ordinance. Additionally, they are going to be, as part of this proposal, they will be removing one of the existing curb cuts off Long Lake Road, which is an improvement, I think, in terms of traffic circulation in that area. And then in terms of the again, I stated that they had the existing access off Telegraph Road. I do want to note that the fire department has reviewed and noted in their January 7th memo that they have no concerns or comments, no objections from the police department. Engineering Environmental Services has provided a memo noting that they recommend approval of the site plan on the condition that the preliminary approval by the Road Commission of Oakland County and also for the new stormwater sewer connection in the Long Lake Road right-of-way. So permits would be required from that agency. Also, a letter dated November 17th from our landscape architect found that the landscape plan that you see before you, which includes some addition of some parking lot islands with some vegetation, some foundation plantings, as well as some additional trees that will be provided in accordance with our ordinance. A traffic study was approved and reviewed, or recommended, I should say, for approval, and a letter dated December 2nd, 2025. Here you can see the elevations that are being provided. You can see that there is a brick, primarily a brick material that's being proposed. And it does meet all of the dimensional standards for the building in terms of setbacks, height. And then also here is a floor plan that provides the future layout of the new building. I do want to note that the applicant did respond to some current concerns from the neighbors in the rear. They were wanted to have the outdoor seating area that was being used by the employees of the veterinarian clinic to be removed from the rear yard. That may be something that with the new building, perhaps they may want to come back at a later date and do a more formalized outdoor area to provide that amenity to their clients, but and their staff. But currently, we do not have that in the plan. But mostly, you can see that most of the activity has actually moved further to the south, away from the residential. And this is not an expansion of any services. There is no overnight care. The only overnight care that they would have would be if it was in case of an emergency. So they don't have any designated outdoor areas for the animals. So historically, the 200-foot setback was likely considered to be important due to maybe some outdoor activity of animals. But in this instance, they're going to continue operating under the same operation that they have been for many years. The signage is just a rendering at this time. They would have to come back before the design review board and possibly the ZBA for any additional signage in the future. And with that, we do have a representative on behalf of the Ross animal to speak. If you have any questions, I can answer any questions. This did receive a favorable recommendation by the design review board on January 7th. And then they just want to note that if the board were to consider a motion this evening to approve this, we would ask that you consider the 6 standards that are provided within your staff report to comply with any of outstanding issues that were identified as part of the review. And again, I can answer any questions as it relates to that.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. I
Yep.
think I'll open up for public hearing, then we'll come back to you and the developer, okay? Okay, so I'll open up for public hearing. And if you're here to comment on this special land use for Ross Animal Hospital, now's your time to come up to the microphone, and we'll ask you to keep it within 3 minutes. I don't see anybody coming up. We'll close the public hearing and invite any questions or comments from the board or comment from the developer.
Andrea, I think it's a win-win for the neighbors and aesthetically. I mean, to move the building from the rear away from residents. And it's beautiful new architecture. My brother was a vet for 40 years, so I'm kind of into vet clinics and rescues and things. So I think it's a great plan, and I think it'll look nice too. So thank you.
Any words from the developer?
None at this time. I appreciate the staff and their professionalism and the way that the project has been presented. I'd just go on to further state that we're already working with the Road Commission. We've already done a preliminary submittal with them. They've given us their standards. We have no issue addressing those. We're happy to meet the concerns of the neighbor to the north, and really just looking forward to improving the site and extending the service here.
And could you just introduce yourself, please?
I'm sorry, Tim Wood with Nowak and Frost Engineers. I'm the consultant
Thank you, Tim.
engineer.
Thank you. Thank you. Questions or motions?
Just make a motion that we approve as presented to us this evening.
Support.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you and good luck. Item number 4, public hearing site plan and special land use request for Tamar Mediterranean, 6608 Telegraph Road, presented by Andrea Bibby. Welcome back.
It was a great break, thank you. So again, this is a very straightforward, I think, application before the before the board this evening. Anytime we have a restaurant that comes within the township and they're seeking the liquor license that qualifies as a special land use within our zoning ordinance. In this instance, we have an application we received on behalf of Tamar Mediterranean. They are seeking approval. I think we're all very familiar with where the Bloomfield Plaza is located. And this is one of those instances where they're looking to locate within the Bloomfield Plaza. Formerly, it was Zhaojun that came before you a few years ago when they asked to reoccupy that space as well from a previous restaurant before that, in which they went through the same process and came before the township board to get approval for their liquor license. This is the existing conditions of the site plan. There's really not. Actually, this needs to be updated as I look at that and see that the former footprint of the theater is there, so that needs to be removed. However, this is this was the site plan that was provided us on behalf of the applicant, which shows the layout of this center, which we are all very familiar with, I'm sure. And then also, this shows highlights on the screen the other tenants within the building. And then really in terms of the floor plan they're doing, and the applicant is here to speak to it, they're really just doing some cosmetic upgrades in the interior and maybe some, I believe some changes to some of their mechanicals, their internal mechanicals in the hood system. But essentially the interior floor plan and the layout is to remain the same. And here is, you can see where the Zhaojun sign is located. That is the tenant space that is looking to be occupied. I just want to note some areas of consideration. The proposed hours of operation for lunch are Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Sundays from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Just want to note, too, that in addition to the liquor license, anything that operates beyond 9 p.m. is also considered a special land use. So we do look at those criteria as it relates to special land use. We do not see any negative impacts to traffic circulation, parking. There's not going to be any additional noise, sound, lighting related to this request as to impact their special land use request. So with that, I would just ask for if there's any questions on behalf of the board. We do have the applicant here. I would ask that you would consider under what conditions the township board would consider approval of a new restaurant possessing a Class C liquor license. Within your packet, you also do have it highlighted the various criteria that we do review as it relates to liquor license. So that has been provided as well. Do want to note that the interior seating area shows a total of 182 seats. That floor plan has been found to be acceptable by the fire marshal. Also gives another overview in terms of the hours of operation. I just want to note that center, the Bloomfield Plaza Shopping Center, does have an existing shared parking agreement. In this instance, we do not have to revisit that shared parking agreement because essentially this is a one-for-one trade-off. We're going from a restaurant to a restaurant, so that shared parking agreement does still stand. So we do not have any issues related to that. It did receive a favorable recommendation on January 7th from the Design Review Board. And with that, we would ask that the Township Board consider under what conditions, and there are 3 highlighted suggested conditions, or 4, I apologize, that would be a consideration as part of this request. Although I don't think that number 4 is actually accurate, compliance with the requirements of the Township Environmental Consultant. I apologize, I think that was an additional request that was carried over, but that's not anything that needs to be considered here. The considerations would be compliance with the requirements of the Township's Department, compliance with the requirements of the Township's Landscape Architect, compliance with the requirements of the traffic engineer. And with that, we have the applicant here. He can answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Andrea.
Yep.
We'll open it up for a public hearing, and if you're here to speak about the Tamar Mediterranean restaurant, now's your time to come up to the podium. You have 3 minutes. Okay, no one's coming up, so we'll close the public hearing and open up for questions from the board, and if the new owner would like to come up and make any comments, introduce yourself.
Are you part of the?
Yeah, he's the new owner.
Oh, I'm with you.
Yeah, yeah, come on up and introduce yourself and answer any questions that the trustees may have.
Hi, my name is Ziad Batah, and I'm the owner of Tamar Mediterranean. Thank you, Andrea, for the presentation. Thank you, gentlemen, for considering this place. We would love to serve the community with nice, new Mediterranean fusion cuisine. the name Tamar gets its name from, like the restaurant gets its theme from the date palm, which means like the Tamar in Hebrew means date palm. So that's going to be like kind of the theme of the restaurants, where like, palm dates, like the interior, some palm leaves. I would love, I should have probably just sent you some rendering to show. We have, it's going to be like diverse flavors from the Mediterranean, blending and culinary traditions of like Israel, Greece, North Africa, and Southern Europe, all into a nice modern dining experience. We have also, it's called like, kitchen and bar. The bar complements this journey with craft cocktails, boutique wines, and spirits that capture the sun and soul of the Mediterranean coast. Would love to welcome everybody and meet you with the
Yeah, thank you,
elegance and
Mark.
class.
And I have a question. You're going to be open at 9 a.m. Is that for breakfast? You have a breakfast menu?
Yeah, so the 9 a.m. will be only Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, okay, thank you for the correction.
Yeah. Monday through Thursday is going to be 10 to 10. Saturday and Sunday will be open for like brunch, like a breakfast or brunch, at 9 a.m.
Okay, coffee.
Correct, of course. Coffee and
What kind
tea.
of coffee are you serving?
So we're gonna do like traditional American coffee and Turkish coffee too.
Turkish coffee?
Yeah,
also?
it's gonna be like on sand, so it's like fresh all the time.
You can have pastries too. My husband will ask if I don't ask. He
Correct.
can have
Yes,
pastries.
we will have fresh made. Like other than the pastry, we're gonna have our own pita bread that's done in house, and we're gonna have like the kunafas, some fresh baklavas, and stuff.
When do you anticipate you might be ready to open?
Hopefully, we have like about 8 to 10 weeks, and we're waiting for the also the liquor license from the state, the transfer of the liquor license. So so far it's good. We passed the investigator step with the state, so hopefully 8 to 10 weeks.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you, thank
Any
you,
other questions?
thank you.
I'd like to make a comment before we go for a motion.
Mark?
Will you be serving arak,
Yes,
Ooh.
shanklish,
yeah, of course, and those.
and
It's on the menu.
ashta? Will you be doing ashta?
La Costa?
Ashta, the ice cream.
Yeah, the Qishta. Yeah, we'll have that too.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll have the.
But
with
you have to
the,
wait, Mark, until after Easter, right? You're not eating sweets
Well,
and
you know, the shanklish is okay.
Yes,
not a
exactly.
sweet.
That's, you can forgive that.
And
There's
the
not,
arak
there's
is
not much
okay.
carbs in it. There is not much carbs in it.
Okay, any other questions? Andrea?
I just want to make sure that we capture two items in the motion. I want to make sure we capture all signage has to be reviewed by the design review board. And I also want to capture that the local, the completion of the local liquor license requirement through the township. I want to make sure those are captured.
Andrea, I do have one question
Sure.
about the environmental consultant.
I think that was taken from another report. I apologize. I think that's a typo because there was no environmental consultant review.
I was wondering if they were doing shawarma and if that would require, with the open burners, if that would require an environmental review. I don't know if that would.
It's on natural gas. It's not on charcoal.
Okay.
So.
So it's a
all
different
part of the
flavor.
kitchen.
Correct. Yeah, it's part of the kitchen. Correct. Just like
Okay.
cooking. Yeah, it's not on charcoal.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I mean, I'd love to have it on charcoal, but.
It's a
That's it.
different flavor. It's
Correct. Yeah.
It's a little bit
When it's
nicer.
charcoal, it's a different. Just like it's just regular natural gas.
Okay, Neil?
Yeah, now I'd make a motion that we approve as presented with the additional conditions that Andrea just presented regarding liquor license approval by the state.
And the signage?
And signage by the design review board.
And their support?
By the township liquor license.
Support.
Yeah.
By the Township DRB?
Yes.
Okay, their support?
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 7-0. Good luck. Good
Thank
luck.
you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, everybody.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We'll
Item
make
number-
sure that you let us know when you have your ribbon cutting.
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Item number 5, site plan and special land use request for Western Market, 42931 Woodward Avenue, presented by Andrea Bibby. Welcome back.
Thank you, Hannah. This is actually another example of a reuse of an existing space. This one is located at the corner of Square Lake and Woodward on the southwest corner within the shopping center that currently houses Boyne country sports, as well as there is a medical facility in there, and Starbucks, or actually, I'm sorry, I take that back, Starbucks moved out, my apologies. There's a Jimmy John's, I think we're familiar with the shopping center. The property is zoned B3. The request before you is for 42931 Woodward Avenue. So this area is specific to the former Rite Aid space. As many of you, are you aware, there was a period of a closure of many Rite Aid stores across the country. And the applicant that we have before us this evening is seeking to open, in the classification of our zoning ordinance, is actually considered a retail package outlet, which means that they will be seeking both an SDM and an SDD license to allow for the sale of beer and wine and spirits. With that, they are looking to do a complete gutting and remodel of the internal former space, which is approximately 13,880 square feet. The overall multi-tenant building is approximately 46,000 square feet. The exterior work, the proposal is for Western Market. The applicants are here this evening. They do currently have a very similar operation up the road on Woodward in Ferndale. So they do have experience and knowledge and very much promote the use of local products. So they are actually considered probably a little bit more of a local gourmet and grocer, if you will, which is a nice compliment, I think, overall to the shopping center. I did hear, and I guess I haven't confirmed it, but I did hear historically that maybe before Rite Aid that this was a grocer at one point. This is certainly a use that is permitted within the B3 classification. I do want to also point out that they are planning on doing some outdoor sales of food, which is very similar to what we have up the road at Nino Savaggio's. They are planning on expanding some of the existing windows on the exterior of the building to kind of give more of an open feeling to the inside space. I do want to just point out that the applicant has changed around their signage a few times, so I just want to note that this is only right now for sort of a visual. They will be bringing their finalized signage package back to the design review board, and then if they want additional signage, they will be asking for that for the ZBA. But I just want to note that they will they will be seeking, again, those liquor licenses through the state as well as through our local process. I do want to note that at the Planning Commission, there was a comment that was made regarding the storage of the outdoor carts. As many of you know or have frequented our, whether it's Kroger across the street or whether it's Trader Joe's, we like to keep our shopping carts contained and not visible. So what the applicant did do based on that, they did come back, they did provide a shopping cart storage area, which would be to the right of that, to the right of this rendering, although those are the green shopping carts that we will no longer see because they will be behind a nice brick masonry wall. And we did have them add that to the site plan, and then we did have that reviewed by our fire marshal to ensure that there's no impedances in terms of ingress and egress to the site. So I think that will add a nice kind of a shield or screening, if you will, for those type of for those. So with that, we have received, it did go before the design review board. Here are some renderings of the interior of the space. So you can see it's going to be a very open concept, elevated design in the interior. And there is the existing condition. I will note that they did go before the zoning board at our most recent meeting. At that time, they requested a variance because they are providing in the rear of the shopping center in their tenant space. They will be having deliveries that will occur. And so what they actually got a variance for is because of the way that we measure the required square footage for loading, they actually needed less. So they actually sought a variance and received a variance to have a slightly smaller loading area. We did have some members of the public that attended the Planning Commission meeting. I do know that the applicant has had some conversations with those neighbors. I don't see them here this evening, so I'm confident that that was a smooth conversation, and I know that the applicant is willing to work with the neighbors if they have any concerns. The building has sat vacant for a while, so now it's going to be a little bit more activity that's going to be occurring around there. I just want to note, too, that they will be keeping their dumpster and their garbage and their refuse is actually going to be maintained in indoors, which I think actually was a good benefit, I think, to the adjacent neighbors to the rear. With that, I just want to note that their hours of operation are 8 to 9 during the 8 to 8 during winter months, and then during the summer months, 8 to 9. So they're not open overly late. They actually don't extend beyond our hours of operation that are permitted within the B3. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I do know that we have some very enthusiastic business owners here that are very proud to share their plan for the township, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Andrea. At this time, we'll open up for a public hearing, and if you're here to comment on the request from Western Market, now's your time to come up to the podium, and we'll give you 3 minutes. And it looks like there'll be no public comment, so we'll close public comment, open up for questions from the board.
No, I just want to comment. Thank you, first of all, for putting in the brick, thank you, partition or whatever, wall for the carts. It certainly adds to the attractiveness. And you did a great job with the design of the building. Been to your market in Ferndale, and you're certainly going to be a great addition to the township.
Well, thank you for that compliment. I'm Steve Stavaggio from, I have to look at the address again because I can't remember it, 42931 Woodward Avenue, which is going to be called Nourish by Western Market. And the reason for the change on the sign is we're in the middle of rebranding. And then in rebranding, we came up with the name Nourish because we wanted to really set the seed to the customer that our store really does nourish the community, the people, your mind. All of it depends on what you want. So we really would like to be the provider to within the community of good food and a place where people come to don't have to travel a mile and a half to buy a bottle of ketchup. You can get it within our 4 or 5 aisles, which we have in the middle. Our perimeter is made up of a really nice prepared food set. We've hired some really high-end consultants to help us put that together. We have it in Ferndale now, but this one will be better. And we've been in business since 1983, so we know a thing or three about fresh foods. That's our main platform. But the grocery items are kind of convenience for our store, as well as the beer, wine, and spirits is kind of what our intention of providing to our customers here in Bloomfield Township.
No, again, similar to what Trustee Barnett said, I think it's going to be a great addition. It's great for that little area. I'm looking forward to going there. You try to address every concern from anybody at the ZBA meeting and met with the neighbors, which is, again, just shows your commitment to invest in the township and invest in those neighbors. So I'm really excited about that.
By the way, I just want to speak on that for a minute. So during the meeting, they raised some concerns. We asked if we could talk to them after. They were so pleasant. We exchanged numbers and contacts so that we can be in touch with them. And our intention is fully to be compliant to all their needs. One of the things was open garbage, which we don't have. And then lighting. Some of the lights that are there now, they're going to be gone. We're taking them off. They're shining into their backyards. And we told for sure we'll have down lights on the building so you can see where you're at, but not outward towards their yards. That was a concern. And they couldn't have been nicer to us after the meeting. And their concerns were valid.
No, and again, it just shows that you're not only willing to invest in it, you're willing to make sure that we invest in those neighbors, those relationships.
Thank
That's
you.
the kind of businesses we want in our township.
Thank
So
you.
I'm obviously very excited to put this forward, and if anybody else has anything, I'd like to make a motion.
Just please include the same conditions I put on the last one. It would be township departments, and I want to say DRB for signage and local liquor license approval. Thank you.
Perfect. So I would like to make a motion that we approve as submitted, including design review board for your signage, as well as the liquor license, as well as any other statutes.
Support.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Passes 7-0.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I really
Congratulations.
appreciate it.
Good luck.
Congratulations.
I think we're going to have some people down in our building department tomorrow looking for permits.
Yep, good. Item number 6, consider revised special assessment district presented by our treasurer and professor, Michael Schostak.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, in your packet, we submitted a revised SAD policy. This policy is used to provide a roadmap and rules and requirements for setting up special assessment districts. I'll highlight some of the changes, and then there's a couple things I want to change. But so basically, this applies not just to road SADs, but also to water main and sanitary sewer SADs. So it outlines who would serve as the SAD representative, how the petition process works, the EOI, et cetera. All of that is unchanged from the previous or current policy. On page 4, we also added in private roads. So we have roads that are under RCOC jurisdiction, which are most of our neighborhood roads. We do have some private roads that are owned by the homeowners on that street. And there are a couple that have expressed interest in pursuing an SAD for road repavement. And so since it doesn't go through the RCOC, there is a slightly different procedure. And so here we have to use our engineering consultant to draw up the plans. And we want the SAD or the potential SAD to cover our costs of that engineering. So we would require that the SAD representative on behalf of all of the owners deposit what the proposal amount is from our engineering consultant to draw up the plans. Those plans are then used to come up with a cost estimate, which is then put on the official petition. So this may become kind of a hurdle for the private roads because we're asking them to put up money before they even go to petition. I don't know that it's necessarily a lot of money because these roads don't tend to be that big. But on page 4, I'd like to change the wording to say proposal amount on deposit with the township instead of an escrow account. They're not going to set up an escrow account. So it'll say proposal amount on deposit with the township for a private road. Then the petition process, all of that's the same as currently. They have to circulate it, how the verification works. They need 50% or more total land area and property owners, et cetera. Same thing would apply for the private roads. Then the public hearings, again, nothing has changed. Public hearing necessity, public bidding, final assessment role. If the actual costs come in 10% more, we have an additional hearing. If they come in by 15% or more, the project is automatically put on hold, and the township board decides whether we want to require new petitions. None of that is changed and is all in compliance with Act 188, followed by the public hearing of the assessment roll when we as the board set the actual assessment roll. Under financing, we made one change here to allow the bonding for either the water projects or the road projects, but also the ability to use internal funding to act as the financing source if we so choose. So we could pay for it with a loan out of water and sewer instead of bonding it, or a loan out of road fund or general fund instead of bonding it. This would presumably we'd only do on really small projects where selling bonds just doesn't make sense. And so we have one coming up that may be coming up. We'll see if that actually makes it through to us. And then on the interest rates, so it's the same thing. Bonds are sold. It's 1% above the interest rate on the bonds is what the SAD pays in interest. If we use township funds to finance it, it's 1% above the yield on the 5-year Treasury note at the time of project commencement, capped at 6%. So again, this is basically repaying us for the lost interest that we aren't getting by loaning them the money. They pay us that interest instead, but it's capped at 6% as per the law, Act 188. Another change is the administrative fee. It used to be tiered, 0.5%, 1%, 1.5%, depending on the size of the project. We made it just flat 1% for all projects. And that township fee would cover our in-house staff time for preparing the SAD, administering it, reviewing the petitions, et cetera, getting it through the process, project management during construction, project management over the lifetime of the assessment. So that's our accounting team and our treasury team collecting all of the special assessments and properly booking them. And I do want to strike the last bullet here that says legal fees incurred by the township. That should just be, we'll keep that as directly billed to the SAD and not part of the admin fee. Other than that, the biggest change is the addition of special assessment district refunds. So as we've seen with these projects that we've done over the last couple of years, good news, they've come in under budget, and they've come in under budget in such a way that I feel we need to refund that money to our residents because we didn't need it. But there was no mechanism in the existing policy to provide for these refunds. So Section 8 here on page 9 refers to two different types of refunds. The first is when the project is complete, so after the construction is done and all of the costs and stuff have been worked out, the financing costs, if we sold bonds, et cetera, we know what the total costs of the project were. If that results in a surplus of $500 or more per unit of benefit, then the township will issue a refund to the property owners if they paid in full. So we have some people who pay the assessment in full at the time that we start the SAD. We would send them a check for the refund that they paid in full. For the people who are paying in annual installments, we can't just refund the money. They haven't paid us all yet. So we will apply their refund as a credit towards future payments. So if they, let's say, have a refund of $5,000 and they have a $4,000 assessment, it'll cover 1 year of $4,000 and $1,000 towards the next year. So it would just be kept and applied towards future payments. That is also in line with Act 188. If the surplus is less than $500 per unit of benefit, then that money will not be refunded. It'll just be transferred over to the debt service fund, which will be used to pay back the bonds, and that's where we will collect all of the assessments. Then, at the end of the district, so after the 15 or 20 years, whenever the SAD is done, the bonds are paid off, all the assessments have been collected, we will do another accounting, and if we have more than 5% of the original roll on a deposit that we have in our debt service fund, then according to Act 188, we will refund that pro rata to the people who paid over installments. And I have in here, this should occur within 180 days, right? Once we get the final accounting, we shouldn't be sitting on that money, we should be refunding it. If the surplus is less than 5% of the assessment, then it can be transferred either into the water and sewer fund, if it's a water project, or into the road improvement fund, the road fund, if it's a road project. Again, part of that is that if the refunds become so small, then it's more cumbersome and complicated to actually go through the process of refunding them than the amount of money that we're talking about. So that is it. So we're hoping that with your approval tonight, we will have now a mechanism in place to issue refunds. And I would expect at some point in the next couple of meetings, I'll be coming back with some requested refunds. So I'll take any questions.
So I have a question. What have we done prior to this when you had reasonable amount of excess?
Prior to the last few, there was never that much of an excess. And it was just transferred into the debt service fund. And so it would be held for 15 years. And then at the end of the 15 years, all of that extra money gets refunded. The problem is it gets refunded to the people who own the properties in 15 years, not necessarily to the people who paid for it today. So I think we need to refund the money at the end of the project, if there's money to be refunded, to the people today as quickly as possible, so we get as many of the people who paid it
Proper
to
credit,
get the refunds.
Refunded or credited?
Refunded or credited, yes.
depending on the situation. It seems like maybe the threshold should be a little less than 500. That's, for some people, that's a significant thing to say, hey, we've got $500 we can give you back. Because I've done the door-to-door on the road assessments, and I know. Because like the last SAD we just approved was what, 199 houses, that's almost $100,000. That's not an insignificant amount. And to keep that and just put that in another fund and act like we're done,
Well, the money is kept in the debt service fund, and then it will be refunded in 15 or 20 years, right? I get that. So what do you think is a more appropriate number?
250 or 300,
Okay.
just my opinion.
Whatever the board decides, I mean, again, that number was chosen based on what is administratively, worth it for our staff to be able to prepare all that and issue the checks and do the credits. And I mean, again, can it be done? Yeah, I mean, we could do it if the refund is $1, but
Well-
it's just what, where do you draw the line as to what is, worth it to go through the process? So if the board tells me, no, it needs to be 250,
So are you saying if it is less than $500, it's costing in staff time to prepare everything and their use administratively so it's almost not worth it?
well, again, it's not like we're keeping that money,
I understand.
right? It's just going into the debt service fund, and then it'll be refunded at the end when we make sure that all the bonds have been paid off, et cetera. So in terms of staff time and, postage for mailing checks, I mean, things like that, hard to quantify. So, I'll defer to whatever this board feels is a fair number. If you want to see refunds below that, then, I'll go with whatever this board decides.
Well, and I do like that we're funding it sooner than later, because in 15 years, some of those houses will have been sold. You might not know where to find the people that actually paid it, and then it gets
Well,
complicated with the
By law,
who
we
made
have to,
payments.
by law, we have to refund it to the owner of record at the time. So
Okay,
it's not, we're not gonna be trying to find people who moved,
Right.
It's whoever owns the house in 15 years gets the refund. So if you buy that house at year 14, and then you get a $5,000 check the next year, even though you didn't pay, that's the way it goes.
But we're capping it, right now you're capping it at 500.
Well, 500 for the initial refund at the end of the project, but at the end of the 15-year life, it would get refunded at that point, based on how much money is there. And these SADs, because of the 1% over the bond rate, we're finding that they have money to be refunded.
Well, let me clarify that, then, just to make sure I understand. So let's say the assessment, and we'll just take like the red and blue section, that was what, $40,000 a household? And as you get the numbers, everything's put together, and let's say each one of those houses right now could qualify for a $3,500, and I'm just pulling a number out of the air, credit or refund, right? We're gonna give that back to them now, but there's still gonna be some money left over, but
There won't be any money left over from this portion of the project. The money that will accumulate in the debt service fund will be the 1% over the bond rate. And the reason that we do that is because by law, we have to accept prepayments at any time. So
Gotcha.
if we bond for something and we're on the hook now to pay it back with interest over 15 years, and somebody prepays the next day so that they're not paying that interest, we're still on the hook for that interest. So that's why we charge the 1%, to make sure that there's enough cash in the fund that if people prepay, we can still meet the obligation to pay the bonds. At the end of the 15 years, when the bonds are paid off, at that point, whatever's left over gets refunded to the owners of record at that time.
because primarily it's because something was paid off, and we've had to still pay that interest.
Correct.
But unless it was over $500 even at the end of the 15 years,
No, at the end of the
You wouldn't
15
get it.
year,
No.
at the end of the 15 years, Act 188 says that it's 5%. So if it's under 5% of the initial assessment, so using the red and blue example, if it's $40,000, 5% of that is what, $200?
2,000.
2,000? 2,000, sorry.
That's okay.
Late.
I
2,000, right, so it's $2,000. So if we calculated it and the refund would be $1,999, technically, we would put that into either the road fund or the water and sewer fund, depending on what type of SAD it was. Now, as a board, we can come in and say, well, no, if it's that, we should just refund it. I mean, we can change that number. It just means that if it's below 5%, we are allowed to keep it and not make the refunds, but we don't have to do that.
Well, but, so 5% of the 40,000 assessment is about $2,000.
Right.
And then, say there's like, I think the last one had 199 houses. That's $398,000. That's a lot of money.
That would be sitting in the debt service fund, yes,
So, but at the end, that would just get divvied up.
by the owners who paid over time.
Just all the way down to zero, while there was a small
Well,
administrative fee
if
or
it's
something.
if it's over 5%, then yes, we would pay it all the way down to zero. The township would not keep any money, it would be refunded in full to the property owners.
But if it was 4%.
If it was 4%, then by law, we could keep the money, again, to be used either towards maintenance of the water system or maintenance of our road system.
4% would be like 275,000 if I'm doing my mental math right.
Yeah.
That's a significant,
Understood, and we, as a board, can decide to make refunds if it's less than 5%, but we are not obligated to. So I suggest that for the policy, we leave it at that 5% number, and that as these districts, we're gonna start to see some of those districts come closed from, I mean, Neil, when did we start doing SADs, like 2011, 2012?
Yeah.
Right, so theoretically, there could be a couple districts this year or next year that are gonna be that are gonna hit their 15 years and are gonna finish. And we'll do the accounting, and at that point, I'll bring it to the board and say, okay, here was the accounting. If it's less than 5%, we can keep it, or we can refund it. If it's more than 5%, we have to refund it.
just out of curiosity, since I was part of an SAD, but before we went through the county, what did they do at the county? if they
No
had
clue.
extra? You don't know?
Do they have to follow Act 188, or is
Yeah,
that?
presumably they have to fund under Act 188 as
So
well.
if they funded it under Act 188, then technically, if it was 5% or more, they had to refund it.
But if it was less than 5%, they didn't. Okay.
Right.
Quick
Just
question
interesting.
on the finish?
Yeah.
Administrative fees. So
Yes.
the administrative fees, so you said that covers a lot of our internal expenses. Does it cover 100% of them, or is there anything left over that goes into funds? Or just
I mean, it's
discretionary?
I think the fee was added, 3-4 years ago?
Yeah.
And before that, we were just charging direct expenses to the SADs, the legal fees, consulting, whatever, the engineering, like that was all charged. But we were not taking anything for our internal staff time and our management of the district for 15 years, right? My office is collecting all the assessments, accounting is, accounting for it. And so it was decided, whatever it was, 4 or 5 years ago, to institute this fee. And the fee was tiered, so the smaller districts paid less, the bigger districts paid more. But it was never meant to be one for one. It was like, we're gonna charge a fee of 1%, 1.5%, and that's just gonna cover our time. And so, because again, we don't track our time. We don't know how much time Jen and Darren and everybody spends on this stuff. If the board doesn't like that, we can pull it out and just say, we're not gonna charge an admin fee, we're just gonna take the direct expenses and charge them to the SAD, and our staff time is internal, it costs us nothing, we're paying salaries anyway, so, we could do that, but I left it in there because that was what was decided 4 or 5 years ago.
I understand. I've always had a problem with the administrative fee, only because, first of all, with these SADs, they're extremely expensive. People are paying a lot of money, plus, of course, the 1% on top. So it just seems like I understand, want to cover costs of our staff, but at the same time, it just seems like it's a real add-on, which is unnecessary and almost insulting when people are paying $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in an SAD, and then we throw this on top of it.
Yeah, but I
I
mean,
mean, not
if you take an $8 million SAD like one of the villages,
Yeah.
and that's $80,000 split among 200, homeowners. I mean, what is it,
Yeah.
$40? I mean, it's not, it's not a
No.
big number, but
But they see it, and it's,
I hear ya.
it doesn't look good.
I hear you. I mean, if the board feels that we shouldn't charge it, then we can take it out.
So I do understand where Neil's coming from in terms of it seems like just another fee, but we have had to make some investments because of this ads. We brought on Mark Messler, right, as a consultant, so that's additional costs that we took on to help streamline these processes and make it easier for our residents and hopefully be able to do them internal to help us not always rely on the county. And then Jen and Darren spent a fair amount of their time not just doing assessing, but doing special assessment districts. So while we were paying the salaries anyways, we are having them do work that are tied more to special assessment districts than it is just normal assessing. So there has been increased costs to the township and to the residents because of this. So I think we need to recoup some of those costs in some way.
Maybe
Whether it's the
we-
1%, I'm not, but.
Maybe we go to 0.5%.
Right, and that's what I was gonna say. If we're going to keep it, go back, maybe go to a half a percent across the board and not have it, gradation on that, just keep it a 0.5%.
So
I would support
my
that.
only concern is the way the policy reads and the way it reads today is that the fee is meant to cover project management during construction, which to me means that Mark Mesler's fees would be paid for by the township and the admin fee is meant to cover that. If we lower it down to 0.5%, there's a chance that, he may bill us more than that 0.5%, especially on the smaller SADs. That's my concern. So if you want to say that all of the direct costs, including external project management, get billed, and then we charge a 0.5% to cover for the in-house staff time, then I'd be okay with that.
That's fine, that's fine with me.
Okay, so are we consensus on that? 0.5%?
0.5% plus,
Plus
Plus,
the direct costs being paid for?
Right.
Okay.
that way we,
It's more justified. It's more,
and we continue to try to reduce those costs and that burden onto the residents.
Right.
because to take the fee completely away, residents that have nothing to do with having roads done
Are supplementing those other
Supplement,
residents.
right.
So this is a way for them to have to pay for that.
Right, but
Right.
1% really kind of adds up, and I agree with Neil. It seems like, they're already paying for the roads. It's a lot.
I prefer to get it passed tonight.
So
If it passes. Okay, well, hold on one second. We got to go back to the point that Val made earlier about the refunds
at 500 or,
at 500 for the initial refunds after the project is completed. I have it in here as 500 or more gets refunded, 500 or less than 500 goes into the debt service fund. Val suggested 250,
300?
300? I mean,
Something less. That's a significant amount of money for some people, and just to say, well, we're just gonna keep it, especially when or should we look at the terms of the total dollar amount? If it's a tiny street and it's 10
We won't know until
houses?
we get to the end of it.
Well, no, but I mean, the 250 or the 500, but I mean, for 200 homes, that was a significant amount of money, but if it was 10 homes,
right, I mean, I initially thought of making this as a percentage, just like for the closing refunds. But at the end of the day, the percentage, if it's a smaller SAD, that percentage is going to be a lower number. And I'm thinking about, our time and administrative burden of putting together these refunds, applying the credits, mailing out the checks, like all that kind of stuff. Like, I thought a flat number would just be better rather than a percentage. So if you think it should be 300, then, and if everybody agrees, then let's just make it 300.
One point, or it's a point and a question. So the first point is, I'm really glad you're bringing this back, right? I mean, previously there was no provision at all to refund money in an SAD situation, and we followed the statute, which meant, at the end, things were figured out. this is a great idea to provide refunds now. It's just, I don't want to just nitpick it around the edges. The key point here is the policy change you're suggesting, which is a great policy change, that refunds would be determined as soon as possible, so that
When the
people-
project is completed.
Right, so the people who did, really did the work of doing this project and are actually going to benefit from it, the homeowners that mostly were involved. And I mean, you think it's $500 is the right number, I think that makes sense. You got to snap the line somewhere, but overall, the policy you're suggesting is that folks will get a refund sooner than later, and I think that's a really great idea. Then the question is, we've done a final accounting of the revenue and costs when the project's completed, but is there a risk that there are additional costs? I mean, if there's challenges in court that are
The
going
the MTTs would already be done for this, before this would happen.
those would be done, okay.
I mean, typically, the MTTs are done, because you have to file I believe it's 30 days, 30 days you have to file for the MTT if you're protesting?
I'd have to look into.
Yeah,
that.
I think it's really short, like 30 or 60 days, and then it takes maybe a year to work its way through the system.
So that,
In the last, I can only speak to the last 3 years, like all of the village projects, all the MTTs are done before we got to the project completed.
okay, great.
So,
I think that's a great question and a great thought, because we don't want to put the township at risk for a certain section or a certain area where that is their choice to put this on.
right, I think if the
So when it says cost of the SAD project,
if there
that
were
includes the
MTTs
MTTs.
that were still outstanding, I think as a board, we would wait to do the refund.
Okay, so it costs
That makes sense.
include the MTTs,
Yeah.
really?
Yes,
Okay, good.
yes, because that cost is incurred by the SAD, the legal cost.
Yes.
Is incurred by the SAD, so those costs, and hypothetically, not that this has happened, and I don't expect it to happen, but if the MTT were to rule against us and to change the protester's assessment, that would be borne by the SAD.
And affect whether or not there's a refund.
Could, yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
So,
And by the way, no MTTs is ruled against us.
correct.
correct, yeah, we wouldn't all of them, I
Yeah,
believe.
my next question was going to be, how often do we get?
No, we've
that?
never lost.
Okay, well, because it just made me curious, the more you kept including that, and that was a valid point.
But
Just
I
don't
think
know.
Martin's point is that we will incur fees in defending them. So we want to make sure that all of the matters are completed, so we
Sure.
know that we're not going to incur any other fees.
It was a great question.
Right, so, okay, so let's just bring this to a head here. So is it 500 or 300?
I'm more comfortable with 500 because we're already reducing the expense.
That's fair.
And, again, if the costs associated with it are troublesome to our residents, there are ways for them to talk to we have special provisions for them to, right?
You're talking about the SADP?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have
Yeah,
avenues.
but this one,
But I'm saying if there are costs,
This-
that
yeah,
$500 is material to them.
Right.
There are ways for us to.
Right.
That's a good point. Since we are already reducing the administrative fee 0.5%.
Which is,
Yeah, so.
okay, so with that, we'll leave it at 500. And unless there are any other questions, I'm just going to summarize the changes. Sure.
Are you gonna, so we're doing the 0.5%?
0.5%, but the direct costs get billed to the SAD. So
Okay.
like Mark Mesler, who's our contracted project manager, would be billed to the SAD, so the 0.5% would really only be paying for in-house staff time.
Okay. And how will we go back and change the current SADs that are at 1%?
No,
No.
this would be going forward.
It is what it is.
Some of them are at 1.5%,
because it was tiered.
because it was tiered, right? Yeah, this is only, we have to, I don't believe we can make this
I don't think we can.
retroactive, so this would be going
It's
forward.
just a policy change.
Right,
so
but it
we
would
don't- we
apply,
don't
like the
retroactive.
green section
Yeah.
would fall under this change.
Which
So-
would provide them a savings.
Yep.
Right.
Does the, when properties are sold, and are these details provided regarding the balances on the properties to the title companies?
The balance on the assessment?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
If a title company contacts us, we have no obligation to
No, they,
affirmatively
yeah, but they
provide
all
this
do. They all
information
do.
anyway.
They all do.
Just want to be
And
clear.
if
it's-
someone's looking
it's-
to buy a property they could request the info.
If somebody's looking to buy a property and is just curious, they could call our office, although actually, going pretty soon, it's going to be available on BS&A Online. So you're going to be able to go to the property on BS&A Online, you'll see special assessment, and you'll see what the balance is. It's not there yet, right? Okay, but it will be very soon. So that's one way. The other way is they could just call my office, and we'll tell them the balance. But the title companies always call us before closing because they ask for if there are any open assessments, if there's any building permits that are open, if there's any ordinance violations that need to get paid, anything that would need to get paid as part of the transfer, they ask, we tell them. So yes, so they are aware of what and we give them the payoff on the assessment. And we're currently in the process of doing an analysis of, in the last 2 or 3 years, how many properties paid off the assessment at closing of a transfer versus carried it on to the new owner. I'm hoping to have that soon.
I have questions about the private roads portion.
Sure.
Do you want to address what we just talked about first? To keep everything together?
What do you mean, what we just talked about?
So the questions Val had.
Well, I want to summarize the changes and then we can vote, but if you have a question, we should go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. Well, it was for a different part of the
It's okay.
policy.
We'll summarize all of them together.
For the private roads, how would those be funded?
So the private roads, if they're large enough, we could bond for it, just like we would for a public road. If they're small, then we now have the option of using our available, either road cash or general fund cash to basically fund it, and then we will get paid off over 15 years. I would anticipate that would only be the case on an extremely small road.
Like a road with 6 or 8 houses.
Correct. Nothing bigger than that. Because let's say the assessment for a road that's like 6 or 8 houses, let's say that's a $400,000
Road project.
project, right? We're not going to bond for a $400,000 project. It's cost prohibitive.
If the road fund puts up their part of their reserves to fund that project,
Yes.
do they keep the interest?
Yes.
Okay.
Michael, I have one last question. Something that we encountered when we did our road assessment years ago, it went through the county, but we refinanced our house because the interest rates had been horrible and they were coming down, but the interest rate on the roads was lower because it came through the county. But when we went to refinance, we wanted to leave the road payment and just refinance the house because that was stupid high interest rate. And the bank made a mistake and didn't tell us till we were like finalizing things, that the bank wants to be number one lien. So unless they wiped out the road assessment, that would be number one. And so they said, but we'll loan you the extra money at a higher interest rate.
Oh, of course.
So now that these assessments can be more easily passed along,
Yes.
because I think we would have had to pay it off if we'd sold the house, but that they can be passed to the next owner, does that complicate the financing?
No, I don't know if Tony, if you want to answer that, but basically, because only the current assessment is treated as a lien, all of the future assessments are not treated as a lien. On a refi, they should not require you to pay off the assessment, because the whole assessment is not the lien, only the current portion.
Okay, because that was something that,
Right,
even
and this is.
the
this-
loan officer told us, no, it's no problem. And
Right.
then when we went to closing, they said, oh yeah, he's hiding in his room, he didn't understand.
Yeah, but the
You
law,
have to
the
pay
law
that off.
changed, and I believe it was our supervisor who got that law changed. When he was in the legislature. So
Current
that law was-
supervisor and previous supervisor, Leo Savoy,
Yeah.
went to the legislature and had the law changed.
Had the law changed, so now only the current portion is the lien, just like taxes,
We
current
did
tax.
that early on. That was the best bill of the year.
Yes.
I'm showing my age that this didn't affect me because it was years ago.
Well, you also did the county, and it didn't affect, this was just for townships.
But the idea
So,
was because
that was the other issue,
you had
too.
seniors that just didn't want to pay for a road and it held up things.
Yeah, understandably.
Okay, any other thoughts before I summarize? Okay, so to summarize the changes from what was presented, on page 4, we're going to change it to on deposit with the township instead of in an escrow account. And then we're going to change on page 8, section 6.1, the purpose of the fee will say that all direct expenses will be charged to the SAD. And then in 6.2, it'll say 0.5% administrative fee. And then we're going to leave the $500 as is, and I believe those are the only changes, so.
So I would like to make a motion that we adopt the special assessment district policy based on the amended changes in our meeting.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you, Professor. Item number 7, consider approval of payment processing contract with BS&A Software presented by our Deputy Treasurer, Mary Jevahirian. Did I pronounce that right, Mary?
Jevahirian.
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 Jevahirian. Right.
Yeah.
Got to put that extra little bump in there.
That's all right. Not a problem. That's why I go by MJ or Mary J. Good evening, Board. Included in your packet is information regarding a transition to a new electronic payment platform for township residents and vendors. As you know, the Treasurer's Office collects almost all of the revenue for the township. We accept cash, checks, credit cards, and electronic payments. The current electronic payment platforms, which there are more than one, are antiquated and do not allow for residents to easily make their payments. Also, our current vendor for direct deposits, which is the ACH portion of those payments, which we have utilized for almost 25 years, recently gave us notice that it will cease operations by April 30th, 2026. So we have investigated several payment platforms over the last year, and a change to a new platform will not only increase efficiencies in the Treasurer's Office, but will also allow for an enhanced resident or user experience. BS&A, our current software provider for various departments, including assessing, PBO, DPW, water, and treasury, offers a robust payment portal solution, which will integrate with the current cloud-based system that we currently use. In your packet is a draft of the addendum from BS&A showing contract terms and pricing. We are requesting approval from the Board of Trustees to move forward with the BS&A payment platform, with the addendum, of course, subject to legal review, with a planned implementation date of May 1st, 2026. I have a few notes and comments I'd like to share first before taking your questions or comments. So I've been actively investigating payment platforms almost for the 2 years that I've been here. Because as a resident, I've also found that they've been antiquated and they were difficult. But I also saw on the other side of the coin in the Treasurer's Office, no pun intended by coin, of course, in the Treasurer's Office, how difficult it was and how inefficient we were at posting those payments. I started talking with a lot of deputies from other CVTs and within Oakland County. I started looking at several vendors, starting at about 4, and I narrowed it down to 2. The main focus should be the resident experience and the department efficiency is where I was headed with this, because we really needed to address those antiquated portals. In terms of a new payment platform that BS&A offers, from a resident perspective, they can now see their amounts due. This didn't happen before, which was very frustrating, not only to the residents, but also from the Treasurer's Office, constantly getting phone calls, what do I owe, when they go onto the electronic payment platform. Also, when they were on there, they might pay the wrong amount, which also ultimately resulted in inefficiencies on our end, overpayments, underpayments, everything. They can set up on this new payment portal a user login they can set up their own user login with information specific to them, or they can pay as a guest. But if they set up an account with their information, they can set up automatic payments, they can set up text to pay, text reminders, email reminders, and notifications. All of this is just exciting because so many people forget sometimes the time of year it is, and we've had so many residents, even today, come in. I was on break. I totally forgot to pay. Well, if they would have a text reminder or an email reminder, and they can text to pay, or they can pay from their phone, or they can get on a computer and pay. It's just going to be amazing. There's also going to be access to how-to videos on our website where they will walk a resident through how to make this payment, right? So many times we get phone calls in the treasurer's office having to walk residents through the antiquated systems that we have. Waiting on the phone for 15 to 16 minutes sometimes, that creates inefficiencies. So our residents get very frustrated with these old archaic payment platforms, and they want and they need a change. From the treasurer's office perspective, the payments also, when they're made online electronically, will automatically post. We don't have that ability today. We manually post those payments. We literally print out a report and we manually post those payments. So it's going to increase our efficiency of our team members within the treasurer's office. It's also going to reduce resident phone calls and requiring that hand holding, like I said, with some of those video instructions. And another positive is that currently for our water automatic payments, we have the residents submit a form that includes their banking information, and we include this information in the cloud environment. All of this information now on a new platform will be exported into their system, and we don't have to touch it. The residents will be responsible for updating their bank account information, their routing number, and their account number. And on this new payment platform, there's some electronic checking, right, of this information, which reduces the number of errors and returned items. Because we're only human, and sometimes we can make a mistake on those forms. We can read a 7 as a 2 when we put in the wrong information, and then the payment doesn't work, it doesn't happen, it doesn't pull, and then we have to contact the resident. Just another way that we're being inefficient. Also, there's going to be efficiencies from our finance and accounting department end. So currently, with so many payment platforms that we have, the bank statements some months can be almost 40 pages long that they have to take and reconcile, because each of these payment platforms may have several line item transactions on a daily basis, sometimes in excess of 8 to 10 transactions a day. And under the new payment platform, these will be condensed and reduced, and hopefully result in efficiencies for their department as well. So I would hope that you would consider and approve. We have included the addendum, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
Can I just supplement that for a second? First of all, I want to thank Mary. She has put in so much time and energy. When she's going to conferences, she's talking to people and vetting these different payment processors. Ultimately, we arrived at this one, so thank you for all of the hard work that you've put into it. The other thing, I think one point that you did miss is that this new processor will be less expensive for our residents. So right now, to use our credit card, either in our office or online, we charge 3.5%. We don't get that. That goes to the payment processor, right? All we get is whatever the payment was. We were able to negotiate with this new processor down to 2.9%. So that will save. And again, we don't get that money, but it's a lower fee that the resident will have to pay.
Correct, and that 3.5% system is actually Oakland County's credit card payment processing system. We have been linked up with Oakland County's system for a number of years. And just within the last year, we pulled our data away from Oakland County, put it up into the cloud with BS&A, and now this would be the last item that we would ultimately pull away and save our residents some money too, yes.
And the county took a skim off that 3.5%.
Yeah.
Well, what about the difference between how we've been doing it and what we pay for BS&A? How does that compare?
In terms of the transactional cost,
The cost of the township for using the ACH system versus the BS&A?
so what's difficult is to understand, and we've put some money in next year's budget for payment processing fees, but what's really hard to understand, Trustee Murray, is how many people don't pay because of the antiquated payment platforms that we have now, right? We have a lot of people that say it's too difficult to pay online, so I'm going to send you in a check, or I'm going to come to the counter and pay cash, whatever that might be. So I took a lot of information from, and tried to figure out statistically what we could be, what a potential expense would be, and we put it in next year's budget. But I think in terms of the savings and efficiencies in all the departments, right? And then in terms of the reduced risk, I think our residents will feel more safe in a payment portal that looks like Amazon's payment portal or any other payment portal that's out there nowadays, right? That's not ours. I mean, just the mere fact that I'm going to be able to log in and put in my address, right, and see my water bill and see my tax bill.
Oh,
I
all
can make
bills.
everything, my permits, my special assessments, it will all be there. And I can set up all different payment methods. I can put in my credit card information, it can store it, or maybe I tell it not to store it, right? I can put in my cell phone for text reminders, my email for email. I think that we've just been sailing along using the same processing methods for a number of years, and I just think we haven't caught up with where we should be, especially from a resident's perspective.
Can I
That's
just,
what I think.
to answer Valerie more directly, the credit card fees are paid by the user.
Right.
Okay, so we don't pay for that, so nothing's gonna change, except that the resident, instead of paying 3.5%, is now gonna pay 2.9%.
Right.
We never got any of that money, so it doesn't affect us, we don't have to pay for that. What we do pay for, and what Mary was referring to as money in the budget, is that we have traditionally paid a fee for every electronic transfer. We have absorbed that fee. That fee, I believe right now, is about 50 cents.
Yeah, it's minimal.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
about 50
minimal.
cents a transaction, and we've absorbed that. And I believe that the reason that we've always done that is because we want to encourage people to pay online and pay electronically for all of the reasons that it makes things easier, et cetera. So we've absorbed that. I believe under the new one, it'll be 65 cents?
That's 65 cents for an electronic transaction if it's a one-time payment. Like if you want to log in as a guest, it's 65 cents. But if you want to set up automatic payments for your water or even for your tax, it's 50 cents per transaction. And just so you know, we haven't had the ability for our residents to even set up, like, once that tax bill, let's say summer 2026 tax bills will come out July 1st. We haven't really even had a payment
For
platform.
reoccurring payments.
Yeah, that allow them to make like $1,000 every month or put some on Visa and this is all going to be.
Yeah, people ask for that, surprisingly. They come in and they say, I'd like to pay my taxes every month.
Yeah.
Instead of all at once. And I said, well, we can only accept it between, July and September or between December and February. But during that time, you can pay it as often.
You can make payments.
You can make whatever
And
payments you want.
you can set it up with the
And you can set it
BS&A.
up. Right, so now this will be integrated. The other thing, we have a township app. This will
Right.
integrate with the township app, so people could go into the app, it'll say pay here, it'll take them right into the
Right.
BS&A platform. And the text to pay, I'm very excited about it. Basically, if you put your cell phone number and your bank account or credit card information, store that in there, it'll send you an alert, you've got your water bill, do you want to pay it? Click, type yes for pay it, and it pays it.
It sounds awesome, and Deputy Treasurer Jevahirian. Thank you so much for bringing this
You're
to
welcome.
us. I can tell you're excited about it.
I'm
and-
like, it's like Christmas morning here. I mean, we finally got everything to where we wanted it, and I think it makes sense. And just the efficiency alone of having a payment post automatically for the team. Yes, but here, we'll be managing by exception now, instead of having to manage every transaction.
And the residents are going to love it.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Neil?
I just
Thank
want to
you,
add,
Mary.
just want to add to it, thank you very much for bringing this to us. It's very past due trying to get something like this to us. I mean, the old system really was a dinosaur.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. And the additional efficiencies and adding the efficiencies with our staff time, we talk about saving money, we're going to be saving money there and not having to waste time on the phone, on the computers. And so it's something that really Bloomfield Township should be, looking at it across the spectrum, because, we market ourselves as having exemplary services, and we certainly didn't have it in the past, but we're getting it in that area, we certainly didn't have it. We're going to.
Yes.
And
Well, I hope
thank you
so.
so much for bringing that to us,
The text
so that we can,
reminders is
so
great,
that we
too.
can be proud of what you have and the services that we have for our residents.
Thank you. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve as submitted.
I do have a question. I like everything that you've mentioned. I really don't like the opt-out policy that they have in place, that's in the budget pack. I think it's too cumbersome if a resident gets frustrated.
I'm sorry,
whatever
what
reason.
opt-out policy?
There's an opt-out policy if someone does not want to, if they're doing automatic payments and they want to opt out. I think it's too cumbersome for residents
From automatic payments.
from the automatic.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'll be very easy with this.
What's in the board packet for this,
You talking about the addendum?
no,
Oh, for receiving board packets?
no, not for receiving board packets, but for we're talking about, not the board packets, but the BS&A software.
Yeah, but just, we're speaking specifically about the payment module.
Correct.
So I don't know what opt-out policy you're talking about.
On the addendum itself, Mark?
I took a look at their software, the software provider's policies. So,
Oh, for the township, if we wanted to opt out, is that what you're talking
no,
about?
for a resident that's connected to the system.
On a regular payment program?
Yes. I think it's too cumbersome for the residents, so I like everything else that you did state, but I do think it is cumbersome.
In what way?
The amount of hoops that the residents have to go through.
Which hoops should they eliminate?
Again, it's a standard policy. They have standard terms and conditions.
Yeah, he just read the conditions.
I don't see it though. I don't know
There's
what you're
nothing we
talking
can do
about.
about it, it's just that's the way it is.
Correct. There's nothing we can do about it, and either you feel it's too cumbersome or you don't.
Okay.
I like everything else about it. I think it's a
Well,
step in the right
Mary,
direction.
why don't you take a deeper dive into what Mark's referring to, and we'll take a look at it, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, just to make sure, because he's
Sure,
right.
I wasn't
If a
aware
neighbor,
of,
if it gets too cumbersome, then maybe we can give some feedback to BS&A.
those might be things too that we can, I'm not so sure what he's reading. I'll take a look at it,
Yeah.
but if it's on the, we create we create
We're
the
there to
fields and we create the things that are required, right?
Right.
And if there's something in there that's not good for the residents, we won't include.
And if a resident
Right.
struggles, we can help
Right.
them.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
We'll be the first one to have
Yeah.
call Mary.
We're
Chris?
gonna try it.
I wanted to support.
No, you didn't make it yet.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the new payment processing as submitted.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No,
No, okay, 6-1. Thank you. Thank you, Mary.
Yep. Thank you,
Great
board.
job.
Well, why don't we
much,
just skip
Mary.
over A, and then we'll just,
No way. No way, this is so exciting.
okay.
So,
Well, let me introduce you.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, item eight.
See, that's how
Present-
exciting it is.
Huh?
That's how exciting it is. I wasn't even waiting.
He wasn't even
to
gonna
do
wait.
this.
Presentation will look back at township history presented by our clerk and local historian, Martin Brook.
As you probably all know, we've talked about it before, next year, 2027, is the 200th anniversary of Bloomfield Township. as a keeper of records, I always look back at different things that were happening in the past of significance. In this month, 87 years ago, something important happened. With regard, however, to the 200th anniversary, I want to also highlight that Treasurer Schostak is going to be chairing a commission to help organize the recognition of that event. And more to come on that later. So in the late 1920s, you may know that the village of Birmingham was part of Bloomfield Township. At that time, they built a village hall, which was also Township Hall. So township offices were in the village offices that are in the city of Birmingham. They're now the city offices. We can all see them there, but they were at one time both the village office and the township office. In the mid-30s, Birmingham became a city and separated from Bloomfield Township. And that's when a period of time started when Bloomfield Township had to find a new home. And there was some transition to different spots over a period of time. But in 1938, the township decided that it would build a new town hall. And they took that idea to the voters on August 18th, 1938, and the voters approved a new township hall to be built right here on land that was gifted by Colonel Edwin S. George, Sidney D. Walden, and Dr. W. Merrill. And that is the land that we're sitting on right now today.
And part of the building.
Getting to that. Isn't it interesting? It is interesting, isn't it?
Sorry, I
So
got in front of you there.
on September 8th, 1938, the townships sought a Public Works Act funding, and the PWA offered to pay 45% of the cost on the condition the township began work as soon as possible, no later than 8 weeks from the date of the offer, which was made in early September, and that they finish the work on this new town hall within 4 months of commencement of the project.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah, right? 4 months. So on the next slide there, let's see. Yeah, so February 16th, 1939, this township hall opened where we're sitting here today. And that is when the township took possession of it. The total cost was $23,000. $10,000 of it was from the Public Works Act grant. Main offices were on the first floor, and the road level, as you can see, the building is still at sort of a split level. The road level held a garage and a fire hall. Garage had space for the apparatus of the fire department, cars and road equipment, and other places. There was an auditorium that was 23 feet by 35 feet and had a room for 100 people. There was an apartment near on the upper part of the building, and fireman Philo Nye and his family lived there. On the next page, you can see the rendering from the blueprints, which are in my office, of the east elevation of the building, which faced Telegraph. So that's essentially the front door of Township Hall that faced Telegraph. And the next slide, you can see the elevation of the north side, which faced from the original blueprints, which I took just this afternoon on my camera, facing Exeter, which is now where the official entrance of the building is, facing Exeter. And the last slide is a picture taken this afternoon. And if you look closely enough, you can see the original Township Hall in the center of this complex called Township Hall. The smokestack and the weather vane in the building itself. So this building was originally erected and opened 87 years ago this month, and became the house of Township Hall and has stayed that way for those 88 years. Since its original opening, there's been 2 additions to Township Hall. And the last addition, I believe, was over 50 years ago in the early 1970s. And so if you look around here in the building, if some people visit it, you can see there are many interior walls that are brick and look like they were exterior walls. They were, in fact, exterior walls. And this facility is constrained significantly by the original construction. And that's the sort of history going back importantly to this month, 87 years ago. We opened Township Hall and moved in here, and we continue to use the space as it was originally designed. One of the most interesting parts, Chris already highlighted, was the idea that the Public Works Act funding during the Depression required that the construction be completed in that very short time frame. And it was. So from September, they adopted in September, and in mid-February, they opened up.
That's fascinating. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you very much. That was
Thanks,
great.
guys.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you.
Professor Brook to you.
Yeah. Competing with Professor Schostak.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're getting quite the
He's
finance
in
and
the-
history lesson
He's in the
tonight.
finance department, I'm in the liberal arts department.
So let's go back to item 8A. Mark, that had to do with your approved payroll vouchers for February?
Yes.
Okay.
I do understand the township has a different policy. I don't think it's best practice regarding how we look at cash when cash is going out. And I will continue to vote no on payroll and vouchers.
Okay. So we'll have a motion to approve
I will
item.
make a motion to approve payroll and vouchers.
Support.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
6-1. And then I just want to note before we adjourn that our planning board chairman and road advisory chairman has been sitting with us, Jeff Sauls. Jeff, thank you for joining us tonight. And on that, we'll ask for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.